Hi, everybody. It is City Sunday. Mira and I are going to start in a few minutes. We're just going to get ourselves together with some back end things. So hang on real tight. Today's City Sunday, we are going to talk about comparing yourself to others and what that means. So give us a few minutes. We will hang tight. I'm going to be on this live for about 1 hour. So I know sometimes you guys hop on and off. And all right, here we go.
Hello,
Hi, Mira. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. We can't see you.
Oh, can you see me now?
I don't know. Let's see. I have to introduce you to everybody. Welcome, everybody, to City Sunday. Today we're going to talk about. Oh, there you are. All
Hello.
right, let's get started. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I wanted to introduce myself for those of you who do not know me. My name is Tiffany Totah. I am a marriage and family therapist, Palestinian American, born and raised in the United States, and my private practice in counseling is currently located in Los Angeles, California. And for those of you that have been following me for a while, this is City Sunday, and that's where it's in honor of my Siti Maria, who offered me so much wisdom growing up. And so these lives are in honor of her and all the female ancestors that have been such an inspiration for me throughout my life. I'd like to introduce Mira, my incredible assistant, who is the absolute back end. So, Mira, if you could just introduce yourself and then we'll get started.
Of course. Hey, everybody. I'm Mira. So glad to be here. I'm from Egypt, by the way.
Egypt's in the house.
Yeah, can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah.
you fine. So, everybody, why don't we see where everybody is from, who's joining? I always love to connect with people that are following and on the live. If you can let us know where you are coming in from, that would be awesome. Algeria, yes, we've had Algerians on the live pretty consistently every Sunday. Kuwait is in the house. Let's see who else. New Orleans, oh, the U.S. I love it. Let's see. And oh, Somalia, welcome, welcome. San Francisco, hey, those are my peeps. Who is that? If I know you, make yourself known. Let's see, who else? Ethiopia, welcome. Anybody else? Mira is going to be reading the Arabi for me, so feel free if you're more comfortable writing in Arabi that she will be able to translate for me. Somalia, welcome. All right. Anybody else want to share where you guys are coming in from? So please feel free to keep chiming in. The more interactive you guys are, the more we can have a good conversation. I think the better this will be. Today's topic is going to be comparing yourself to others and how, oh, Egypt, there we go. Tunis, oh, here, they're starting to come in, Mira. People from all over.
Yeah.
First, I wanted to say, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're at almost 5,000 followers. And when Mita and I started this project, how long ago did we start? I feel like people need a little history of how we got here.
Yeah, a little more than 6 months now.
6 months. And short of yesterday, we had it's not even about the followers for me. I could care less about that. It's more about the community. And I love hearing from you guys. I try and respond to everybody. I want us to heal as a community. So let me offer you some housekeeping rules. Just so you know, whatever I say, what doesn't apply to you, let it fly. This is more content for people who maybe want to have some awareness or understanding. If it doesn't apply to your situation, please try not to personalize what I'm saying. Do not personalize it. This is not about personalization. This is about how can we honor one another's experiences and how can we increase our emotional intelligence by recognizing that someone can have their experience and you can have your experience too. The other piece that I want to acknowledge is that in no way are we going to accept negative comments, hurtful comments. There's so much division. This is not men against women. This is about how can we all come together as a community, because Arab men struggle with emotional health issues just as much as women do, but how it's presented could be different. So please, this is about unity from all of us. Community for International Arab, please remember that. And if there's any fighting, arguing, healthy discourse is important, but try to not engage in negative, because we will delete them, because I read all of them. Mira reads all of them. And it is so important for us to have a community of positivity. There's too much negativity out there, and it's not going to be here. All right. And then the last thing, I have received so many, lots of comments, terrible comments from people saying how I'm trying to put down the Arab. I love our Arabic culture. I don't care what Arab country you're from. I love our culture. I love our people. I love the richness, the vastness, the history of everything that we embody, whether you're in your country of origin or in the diaspora. What I'm hoping that we can, this is always about good intent, and it always comes from a place of wanting us to do better and be better. And it's, yes, thank you, Tammy. Thank you. I appreciate you understanding what I'm doing, and it's healing to talk about our mental health. I absolutely agree with you. And there's nothing out there. I mean, I'm trying to really build a community of Arab therapists so that from all over, so we can really help our community grow. All right. Now, the full video is going to be on YouTube. So Mira, there's a couple of housekeeping on where the video. Can you kind of walk through people where they can find the full video, and then translations, things like that? Can you help with that, please?
Yeah, of course. So the full video is always on YouTube. It's either under City Sunday playlist or under Wadih Wednesday playlist. See how amazing the names are? And then if you're ever wondering what the video is saying and you don't understand the English, you can always tap on the TikTok app. You can always tap on the settings icon, and you can select to translate the English video into whatever language you speak and understand, and it's going to do that for you.
Okay, thank you so much. So remember, link in the bio. You want the full video. I know in Al-Arab, we're very solution focused. I get that a lot. Tiffany, show a solution. I go, well, the solution is going to be on the full video. Ashan TikTok only batini 60 seconds to talk about something so big. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for all the gifts, for all the support. My heart is so full from each of you. Thank you so much. All right, let's get started. Now, the purpose of today's topic is for you to start reflecting within yourself. Let's take a deep breath together. Some of the things I'm saying may be very triggering, and this is where you take care of yourself and breathe. Breathe through it. My hope is today you will gain more self-confidence, gratitude, and self-acceptance. That's the key. So by the end of today's live, those are the three key things. Now, growing up, and please chime in the comments. Growing up, what was your experience with being compared to others? Or if others were compared to you? What is your experience with being compared to? How were you compared? Feel free to chime in. Think about your childhood. Did your parents ever compare your academic performance with your siblings, or your siblings or your classmates? Were you ever ranked in sports or other activities? Just start to think about when you started comparing yourself. When did you remember? Anybody have any experiences around that? I'm going to give people a couple minutes to chime in. I know sometimes people are still joining. Anybody that's here chiming in around middle school? Thank you. A with all the cute emojis. Yes. What happened, if you could share, what happened in middle school? That is a very key developmental time period in one's life where you start to form your identity. So this is where if you were being compared to early in life, you have to remember that shapes a bunch of bullying. Yes, that happens. Comparing grades with siblings. Yes. Who had that really smart, oh, shuf yahuki or shuf ahuk or ukhtak, and it's this constant, and then you end up like resenting your sister or your brother. Let's see, Tammy, around, sorry, it's going so fast, around elementary school. Comparison with family friends. Oh, that's a big one. How come inti mishze bint rima, right? Compare, and I didn't feel good enough, or even lady. Yes, thank you for that. My parents tried not to compare siblings. So, well, that's good. That I'm glad your parents were like that. How else? Well, let's keep going. So thank you for chiming in. So growing up, one other thing I could share with you, I was compared, they would say, Tiffany, lish inti mish akle, they bint whoever. Like, why weren't you like calm and quiet, right? So growing up, that energetic part of me, or that part of me that wanted to speak out or connect with people, was completely suppressed. And it led me down a belief that I was not worthy. So for those of you that have these childhood experiences very early, you may have adopted a core belief that you were not worthy based on these comparisons. And it was so hard for me to be hakle, right? Because that's not true to my nature. Well, guess what? I spent most of my life fighting, just fighting my parents, fighting the community, fighting. I was always like just so upset because I couldn't be who I was. I was trying to break out of this box they wanted to put me in. Now, for some of you, if you're not a fighter, maybe you froze and you just did what you were told, or maybe you ran, right? Or you just avoided it. Whatever your coping mechanism was for being compared, know that it's okay. Know that it's normal. There's nothing wrong with you. So we're here to shift that, okay? Now, there are 4 things, whether you're Arab or not, 4 categories where we start to compare ourselves and see where you fall in one of these 4 categories. And please feel free to chime in on your examples of that, okay? The number 1 thing is attractiveness. So many times when we're looking on social media, back in my day it was magazines, we would compare our attractiveness to whatever the beauty standard was. This goes for men and women. I know a lot of times we equate attractiveness with women. This goes for men too, around what a man's stature is and what he's supposed to look like, his physique, right? For women, it's the same thing around our own attractiveness based on beauty standards. Now, those of us living in the United States or in other, I can only speak to the experience of being in the United States. So as Banat Arab or, as Lulad Arab, our beauty standards were based on what white America's beauty standards were. So a lot of us, well, obviously we couldn't look like those standards. So there was this underlying belief that you're not beautiful. Now, within your own respective country, take a look at what are those beauty standards or those attractiveness standards, and who are you comparing yourself to, and to really minimize that. Sometimes our families, let's see, as a man seeing no other man have insecurities and hating their body, so I felt like I didn't fit in. Yes, because they hold it inside. Men hold it inside. They don't, many times, and half my practice is half Arab men, half Arab women. So I want you guys to know that I have a lot of experience working with Arab men, even though I'm not a man. I just know that they struggle very differently. So let's talk about this attractiveness. Many times growing up, your families may have compared you to bint, I don't know why I'm calling out Rima, but bint Rima Hilwa, or hey, البنت عيونها زرق, شوفوا محلاها, or I don't know what the obsession is, but it's شوفوا ابن محسن طويل شوف مطولة محلاه شلبي. Is that right, Nina? Am I saying the Arabic words right?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. So this is where our attractiveness, when they're comparing us to other people and what that means, right? So let's keep going. The other big thing is wealth. We compare ourselves through wealth. Now, in this very materialistic world, we've gone so far on the other side of the pendulum around materialism that wealth can mean many things. For our Arab community, it means financial wealth. So, شوفوا ابن عزيز دكتور بنت خالك شوفوا اتجوزت واحد غني, right? And so you have to remember, are you comparing that you have no value unless you have material wealth? And I'm here to tell you that's just not true. Wealth does not equate happiness. It can, but not to the degree that everyone thinks it does. The next one. So we've got attractiveness, wealth, intelligence. So let's go to that one because that's an hey shatter or have a shattered. How come inta mish shattered zayo? How come you're not performing the way he is? Or how come inti you're you know, they say kaslana, you're kaslana in your studies, right? And so within our Arab community, in my experience, before everybody throws at me, mish Arab only and all that comments, please don't do that. The primary focus is on logical and mathematical intelligence. So one's worth is compared to a score. One's worth is compared to the university they went to, or many times linguistic intelligence. So how many languages you speak, your written communication, right? And sometimes you just don't have that capacity. But within our culture, that's what's valued. So you may be rejected. Tammy, thank you for that. Emotional intelligence is definitely not valued and quieted. I agree with you. And this is where if you have, and that's where it goes to, my emotional intelligence was not valued. And I understand that. And that's why I spent a lifetime thinking I was dumb. Now I'm going to be extreme because our thoughts can be so negative. Now, let's see. Things like musical intelligence, sports, arts, dance may also not be valued. So let's keep going. Success. Any questions so far? I see some comments. Mira, can you read them? There's comments in
the Rami was saying al-muqarana, which is comparison, but in Arabic.
Uh-huh.
And then someone said, what about growing up in a Western community, but it's your peers who rejected you?
That's right. That happens. And we need to find out like why they were rejecting you. And it could just be you look different. Not for who you are as a person, but just because you look different than who they were. Maybe you spoke differently than how they were. It doesn't mean your value as a person. It means they were, for whatever was going on within them, they couldn't be open to being with you. And that's not on you, that's on them.
Yeah, so someone else said, I feel resentful towards those who are so confident and grounded in themselves.
Yeah, well, we'll help you to get there. Yeah, that's the point of this video, is to help you get there. Yeah? All right, let's keep going. We have a lot of material to cover. So this is where, for you to be honest with yourself, two major types of social comparison. Two. So we've got upward comparison, where we will compare ourselves to people that are better than we are. I think someone just made a comment around that. And a downward comparison, when people compare themselves to those who are less proficient than they are. So when we're honest with ourselves, many times when you have a capacity or you're doing really good at something, you may put other people down for not being where you're at. If you do that, acknowledge it, know you're contributing to negative behavior, and it's going to take energy away from you. Sometimes people, they puff up and they think it makes them feel better. Not really. By putting somebody else down, it doesn't uplift you. And I see a lot of that in our community where we're putting each other down. If someone is successful, if someone is beautiful, if someone is smart, we will put them down versus uplift them. And that's the crab in the barrel, a video I did around, we need as a culture for us to heal and move forward, we need to uplift each other instead of comparing who's right, who's wrong, who's better, who's not, to say, I can value what you bring, even though I don't have that. Okay? So share a moment where you may have felt inadequate as a result of the comparison. So somebody mentioned bullying, but when did you feel inadequate as a result of the comparison? Mira, did the question make sense?
Yeah, it did.
Okay. So I can share just to help stimulate. See, when I was getting bad grades and failing at everything, yes, Jay, thank you. That's where you felt inadequate, but then we need to ask ourselves, why were you getting bad grades? Why were you failing at everything? Let me explain something. The amount of trauma that is within our culture, the amount of trauma. And so you remember, I don't know, Jay, if you have trauma, but if you had upheaval in your home or challenges, or maybe you have an undiagnosed learning disability. And many times our parents did not have the knowledge. It's not their fault, but they did not have the knowledge to maybe get you assessed, figure out. We tend to minimize and bury, and you wonder why you can't focus in school, or maybe that wasn't your intellectual capability. Maybe you were a tinker. Maybe you like to build things. Maybe you were an artist. Maybe you were a musician. But because you were placed in perhaps a school environment that may not have worked for you. But now you have a lifetime of feeling inadequate because of something that perhaps the people in your life could have done. And this is, again, not a judgment. They just didn't know to be able to support you in those failing grades. Anybody else where they felt inadequate? Oh, yes, you were bigger in size. Yes, that attractiveness, right? And you just looked different, so you were bullied. What would Jiddo say? He would blah, blah, blah. Right, what would Jiddo say? Yes, I had a grandfather that was a tyrant, and I was the rebel. And he would say, don't be like her. And yes. But then in another sense, oh, you should be like her, Shakra. So we come from a culture that also gives mixed messages. So let's keep going. I talked about, when you think about this inadequacy of your life, when you're constantly comparing yourself to someone, that's going to make that inadequacy get even bigger, and it's going to get even worse. So it's important to remember, the less you compare, the better you will feel about yourself. And that inadequacy that you feel in you may be minimized. So here we go. Oh, I wanted to give this example of inadequacy because I think some of you guys can relate to this. Because I was thinking about for myself, like, what were those messages? So I'm very petite. And my mom, listen, this is, I'm a young girl, and I would hear people say to my mom, oh, bintek hilwa bas kasira. So I found myself never seeing myself as beautiful or even, in fact, ugly, and I would envy girls that were taller than me. I go, ana kasira. How come I'm not, why is this happening to me? You can't do anything about your height, your hair, your eye color, your body shape. And yet by these things, and I also believed that a man would never want me, right? Because ana kasida. And so constantly, that reinforced my ability to hurt myself in putting that vulnerability out there because of this I am Casita, I am ugly. So if you have, and I'm sharing this, and I know it could be intense, because I know that someone out there can relate to that when it's your physical appearance, and particularly around body shape. And um, it can be very, very hard. And taking a look at that just because they think into casita or into whatever, it does not equate to your value. And you have to work really hard to overcome that. And how do you turn that around for yourself, which I'll talk about in a minute. Okay. Any questions so far? Mira, do we have any questions?
No, not questions. But Tammy said you unlocked a memory. She's so beautiful. If only she would do something with her brows.
Ah, thank you, Tammy. Yeah, exactly. And this is so, because it's like something so simple, right? It's like, oh, but then you may in the back of your mind feel some kind of way about the eyebrows. Yes, thank you for that. I appreciate you saying that. So let's move to, before we move into solution, we're going to go into, when have you felt superior in comparison? When have you felt superior? Now, I was thinking about examples around this, and because of my own core beliefs, I didn't have any examples of when I felt superior to somebody else, because I'm constantly trying to build myself up. Anybody? So, Mira, any examples can you think of that you've seen around, um, like a cousin who constantly bragged about their achievements? Does that happen?
Yeah, it could be in the academic like way. It's like I did this, or my grades are like this, and you're not a doctor, you're not a lawyer, you're not an engineer, you know. But I am. They would brag about that a lot.
That's right. And so when you have, if you do this yourself, or if somebody else does this, they constantly brag about their achievements. So you may have that auntie constantly bragging about her son or her daughter. A lot of times it's not true. They over exaggerate, but that's for another conversation. Dismissing other people's opinions. So if you have an opinion, somebody with a superiority, or compare, like, oh, your opinion doesn't matter, which I get in the comments a lot, versus it's an awareness, and that's that superior. I'm better than you. I know more than you. Condescending towards others. That's a big one, where someone is who are you to tell me, when you may not even be comparing. You're just saying this is my experience, and then they will try and put you down. This is a huge one in the Arab community. Oh my gosh. Overreacting to criticism. A lot of times it's not even criticism, it's just feedback. And then we internalize it as if anybody shares anything with you, there's this overreaction. You're putting me down, you're criticizing me, you're comparing. And then there's this, and please, if this is you, take a deep breath. It's not, I could almost guarantee you guys, 99.9% of the time, it's not about you. It is not about you. Yes, Jay wrote, I feel threatened when I get criticism. Yes, Jay, because I think if you were the same person that I remember sharing, when you are constantly being put down, harmed, bullied, when no one is affirming you, any level, your nervous system is so activated, you are so wound tight, that if anybody says anything to you, it's going to feel like a threat, because when you were little, you felt threatened. But there was nobody to guide you and hold you in that. So please offer yourself some grace, which leads to the feelings that we have. I will, Strawberry Croissant, okay, first of all, I love that name. How do we overcome it? I'm getting there. Bear with me, you guys. We're halfway through. I don't like to rush these concepts, because I want you to look within yourself, as Jay did. He says, I feel threatened. So let's really how do you feel? What are some feelings that you get when you are compared to other people, or when you compare yourself to other people? What are some feelings that come up? I know, we need to name feelings. Anxious, yes. We could feel really nervous, anxious. Shame, I love that. I mean, not that I love that you feel shame, but yes, shame is a huge, bad, thank you, Rami. Yes. Guilty, thank you, TTT. Intimidated, thank you, Rayanne. Crystal, sad. Number one, Tammy, you said anger, but specifically due to fear. Very interesting. Yes, absolutely. Anybody else want to share feelings that come up? You could see that there's a wide range of that. Fear. Yeah, because that fear comes from I'm inadequate, that then what happens? If I'm inadequate, I'm not enough. Thank you, Saba. Yes. And so you have to remember empty emotionally. Oh, Rami, this is yes, because it takes your energy away from you when you're constantly battling this fear, this resentment, this jealousy, this shame. And sometimes we develop a hatred towards your sibling or your cousin. One of the most healing conversations I had was with my sister and my cousin around what was it like for us growing up and being compared. We were Lulad Khal, my cousins were Lulad Am. And what were some of the resentments? And really, it's not that we didn't love each other, but it was like, how come they're treated differently than us? And then for them, for her, it was how come they got the more freedom, which was limited, more freedom to do more than what we were able to because of the expectations of being Lulad Am. And so we had these conversations, and it opened us up to the vulnerability of what we experienced in our childhood, and it freed us. So I'm going to encourage you, if you have siblings that are healthy and open, or cousins that are healthy and open, or friends that are healthy and open, I always have to put that caveat, because if they're toxic, don't do this. Where you can have these conversations around what it feels like. And it freed us so much. And we were able to honor each other in so many different ways. And so I'm grateful for them for being open to that. Sometimes when we're feeling better than other people, we will feel competitive and I need to be better than this person. So competition, which there could be healthy competition. But when it starts to get a little nasty is when you're like, I want them to go down so I could feel better. That's not great. So, and then the other one, pettiness. How many times have you gone to an Arabi party or an Arab, right? Mira, how many times have you gone to a party? How petty people are. A couple comes in their glory. They're beautiful. They look good. They're put together, and they say, "Shufu hodod, shaifin halham," or "Shufi hat shayif halha." That is so petty, huh?
Yeah, this happens a lot.
Yeah. And if you do that, and I could be honest with you guys, when we were younger, that's all we knew. And I know being on the other end of that jealousy, people that mean, the bullying that I think Jay was talking about, people can be so cruel. So when you see a couple or somebody helwa and he looks good and he's successful, instead of trying to put them down or find fault or, oh, shout out to one piece hair, it's like, oh my gosh, the pettiness is unbelievable. To stop yourself and say, what do I really value in that? Because what it's doing is it's evoking within you that core belief of feeling inadequate. That's why I say it's not about you. But when you start to do that, then it is about you. Okay? Yes. Rami says, some people don't appreciate the moment because of they're jealous. Yes. Jealousy is quite dangerous. But a lot of times we don't own that jealousy. I could say growing up, I was jealous many times of what the boys in the family can do. I think the generations are different, but I'm like, how come the boys can do all these things and we're limited? How come they get to go away to college and I had to stay local? Okay? And so you have to remember that we all come with our stories, but to really acknowledge within you, your feelings of inadequacy are about you and how can you heal that. Many times it's unconscious. So that's where awareness, it's constantly assessing your brain to go, okay, yeah, that was a judgment. I could be at the grocery store and somebody has like 12 items instead of the 10 in the line, and I find myself judging them like, oh, look at that person. Then I reel myself in these simple examples to go, why am I judging this person? Maybe they're in a hurry. Maybe they miscounted. Why am I getting all upset over what and judging them and comparing myself like I would never do that. You see? So, Did you see that?
Yeah, I love that.
Shufti? All right. Now, for those of you that want the psychological term, if you wanted to like research it, comparing yourself to others is called social comparison. Because we live in a very collective culture, and when I say enmeshed, I don't say it in a negative Western therapeutic way. We are just embedded with one another in ways that other cultures aren't. And so doesn't mean it's good or bad. It just means we need to be very mindful that these social comparisons are going to be at an optimum. It's going to be high for you. So you wonder why you can't move through those feelings of inadequacy is because it is constantly being challenged. So this is where you offer yourself grace and kindness. But it's a natural human tendency. Actually, it's a social conditioning. And we were socialized from a young age to compare. We were socialized to compare to one another. We were taught that because many times my mother would say, we would compare you to other people because we wanted you to excel. And I literally had this conversation with her this morning. She goes, Habibti, we wanted you to excel. So we would say, look at that person, look at this. And then she said in her own healing, she said, we did that because we thought it would excel, but we didn't know it caused more harm. Mm-hmm. Okay? So sometimes they just don't know. And of course, I told her, thank you, Yama. And on some level, it did, that perfect pictures and being compared, I needed to be the best, did bring me to where I needed to go. And it caused a lot of emotional upheaval within me around my self-worth and how I saw myself. Do you guys see that? All right. Now, because this is deeply rooted within the social group and our belonging, and we come from a culture of sheer belonging, where it's important that if you move outside of that, if you're not doing what the culture says, you're going to be ostracized. You're going to be alone. You may be punished. So I want you guys to understand that in this, when we're comparing, and it can be sorry, I feel like I'm losing my train of thought, where it's both beneficial in motivation, like I mentioned, and detrimental to our mental health if we excessively focus on the comparison. Let's see, we've got some comments here. Yeah, probably because their parents did the same thing. Absolutely. And that's that generational trauma, that why I created this community is so that we can finally have a place to talk about these things, to say, how can we do better for the next generation? And that takes a lot of work, because I can tell you, it does take a lot of work to heal and to move forward in that, especially around the comparisons. Tammy, it's quite often the result in the opposite behavior. Yes, that's what I was saying, that they're comparing you, so thinking they're motivating you, but a lot of times it's demotivating, and it could be not just in your case, Tammy, in a lot of our cases. I feel like I can never recondition myself. I keep failing. Strawberry croissant. I'd like you to go to my YouTube, and there's a link on victim mentality. And that is something we feel like we can never recondition. And no, we absolutely can. It takes so much effort. And this is what I tell all my clients. Sometimes it's every minute of every day that you have to do this exercise of what quality is my thought, where am I feeling inadequate, what is happening to me, in order to recondition. And I know we're not supposed to say you have to, but really to heal, it's embodying the embodying and educating yourself and creating awareness, and whether it's journaling, talking to a therapist, uh, doing things that you find more joy in, that you can find your peace and you can recondition. Because I can tell you, not just from me, but the clients I work with, my cousins, my sister, my own mother from her generation, we can recondition. It just takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time and a lot of practice. Yes. And I don't mince words around that, especially in our culture where it's constantly negative. And if you want to move out of it, they just want to keep bringing you down. Um, there's not much more I can say about that, except you can change. This platform is to bring you hope and to come back to this video when you're feeling low and down and you feel like you can't move forward. I want you to hear my voice. Yes, you can. We got you. We got you. This community has you. You are not alone. Our self-esteem took such a toll. Why? I missed it. Nita, can you read that for me,
I
please?
felt so incapable for so long to be an adult.
Oh my gosh, totally. Absolutely. You know, funny enough, I was thinking about, since I started this platform and how much I've grown and healed and how each of you and the energy you bring has helped me to grow. And I thought, I'm just beginning to feel like an adult, and I'm in my 50s. I literally am just beginning to feel like I have autonomy over my life, and I can get a hold of my brain and really move forward. And I work in the field, and I've done therapy, or I do therapy and energy work. I've done everything just to get to this point. So please be kind to yourself. Now let's, just in the interest of time, let's talk about ways to minimize this. This is where you want to focus on your own personal growth. Don't compare yourself to other people. When you find yourself doing that, bring it back to you. Comparing yourself to your past self. And I was talking to my cousin, and we were talking. She said, I just had to share with her how much she had grown, and she didn't recognize that. So this is where you can recognize within yourself on who you were a month ago, who you were 2 months ago. And in fact, the people that were saying there's no hope, I want you to look back on who you were a year ago. And you need to tell me there was no growth, no shift within you. My sense is really look around that. Really look deep within yourself, and my sense is you will find it. Because we were not trained we were not uplifted to recognize the good things we did. Because many times we grew up in environments that only told us the wrong things that we did. Okay? So compare yourself to you, and you only. The other thing, practicing gratitude. I don't know how many Arab I work with, and myself included, where somebody goes, what are your positive traits? And I was like, what? Positive traits? What is that? Like, it's very difficult when I'm working with Arab to recognize what positive strengths do you have. Again, because of this mentality, we're never good enough. I'm always inadequate. I'm not adulting. I'm not doing what I need to do. And that's just not true. So make a list of all the positive aspects of your life, all the positive traits that you have, the strengths that you have. Because my sense is many of you overcame a lot of heavy things. A lot of heavy things. The next one, set realistic goals for yourself. Because many times we're future tripping. We're looking at these big things when it's really about what I call game time decisions. Take a look at when you're comparing yourself to somebody, you go, oh, I want to be there. It's through small steps, realistic goals. And sometimes that begins with mindset. The next one, challenge negative thoughts. Many times it's identifying and challenging your self-critical thoughts. And I can tell you, we have the worst thoughts of ourselves. It's like, forget about other people putting you down. You probably do a really good job putting yourself down too. Okay? And so this is where you need to say, what evidence do I have of this self-critical thought? Find evidence for that. And I always say, are you inadequate? They're like high PhDs and people doing incredible things and say, I'm not adequate. I go, what evidence do you have of that? So do that for yourself. When you have, I am a failure, I can never stick to one job unlike my friends, I'm not smart enough to pass this exam or get the same score as my brother, some things no one will listen to me, I wish I had more money than somebody else, I'm not lucky. Take all those self-critical thoughts and reframe them to something more positive. Now, or even neutral. And what does that look like for you? Only you can answer that for yourself. The other piece, limit social media exposure. The number one intervention that I say to all my clients, take a 3-day social media break. And then they freak out. Tiffany, what? Social media break? What are you talking about? Okay, 1 day. Because when your nervous system, you're in a family environment that's constantly comparing you, you're doom scrolling on social media and you're comparing yourself, your nervous system does not have an opportunity to rest and recover and to reset for you to be able to adopt a different mindset, find gratitude, because you are constantly inflamed around that. So be really careful. And, oh, this is a big one, and this will probably be my last point. Become aware and avoid the triggers. So when you go through your social media feed or when you go through your phone log, and I'm going to say, give yourself full permission to remove any accounts that don't make you feel good. Hide them. Anybody that is posting their vacation photos and the this and lifestyles of the rich and famous, and you're feeling some kind of way, just hide them. That's all lies anyway. This is another thing I share with my clients and my family. Whatever you see on social media, because I'm a therapist for 25 years, I can tell you the couple that's like, oh, mabsutin, oh, shufu mahlahum. Let me tell you, probably 2 months later, they're going to get divorced. So do not get seduced into the social media lies, and because no one's going to put that their son is struggling. No, everyone's going to put their best foot forward, right? And so remove these triggers. If you have a cousin or a sibling, obviously we can't necessarily avoid them, but you may want to limit your exposure to them and find out what your triggers are. And I think one of the things I'll leave you guys with is, yeah, life sometimes is not fair. Sometimes it's an opportunity for you to refocus your attention on you, yourself, what you can control, and the thoughts that you have. And it does take a lot of work. And it doesn't mean that, and focus on your own family, or just focus on you, on how you can heal together to move forward to a better life of wellness in whatever that means to you. I hope that helps. I wanted to thank you guys all for hanging with me for this last hour and gaining hopefully some insight. But I'll go over it. Well, let's see. I think we have a few minutes, right, Nita? Let me go over some comments. Can you help me out?
Yeah. So something, can I just highlight that because I liked it. Tammy said, I'm nodding exactly. Compare yourself to only yourself.
Yes, that's true. And it's very, very hard to do that. So this is where when you're you use it as an opportunity. Every time you're comparing, you do this exercise, you bring it back to you. Take a deep breath. Okay, what's this about for me? The more you can exercise in that, the better you will get at it. It's called controlled mastery.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Jace. Source of my comparison. It's so addictive.
It is addictive. It is. And this is where, with any addiction, you want to remove the triggers. It's like somebody that's struggling with alcohol, don't go by the bar, right? Let's avoid that block where you would be tempted to drink or smoke. It is that, so that's that reconditioning, but you must remove the triggers that are contributing to that. And social media is a big one. Anything else?
Um, no, I think we're good.
Oh, good. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for this community. Thank you for joining me on City Sunday. If you have any questions, please send them for Wadih Wednesday. That's our question and answer. You will find the full video on YouTube. And see you next Sunday at City Sunday. And if you have any topic ideas, please share. And we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.